This edition of the Focus Cup is brought to you in association with Mintex, breaking with tradition. And on to, sadly, our last programme of the 2022 season. The MSVR Ford Power Live is the event and the final round of the Focus Cup Championship. Liam McGill already champion from Simon Rudd and Richard Davis. Jonathan Baker next up, but a man looking to climb further up is Sean Reynolds.
Sean, here we are, final event of the year, a massive event as well in Ford Power Live.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to today. Yesterday we had a few problems with car setup. I had a good start in race one, got up to third, and then we had brake failure, was locking the back up, so sort of spoilt yesterday. But today seems to be all the issues seem to be sorted, and a good quali. I think it was in P2 for a while, and then got pipped at the end by Simon Rudd, so I'm in P3.
That's a good place to be though, isn't it, really? You can assess what's going on in that first sort of corner or two.
Yeah, keep out of trouble. So there's obviously two people in front of me and just try and keep it that way or make a place up. But yeah, keep out of the mid-pack.
So I'm going to ask you about your year, but let's rewind back to the last sort of event at Croft. Second place there, one of the best achievements you've got so far.
Yeah, Croft was really good. Really got the hang of that circuit and the car setup. So yeah, P2 in the first race, and then a bit of trouble in the second race. But no, overall it was good.
Ian, been a while since we caught up. How's your season been going so far?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been stop-starts. Work's got in the way of racing, or the other way around, it used to be. So yeah, it's been an interesting season. The races I've done, fairly consistent midfield. My first podium over at Snetterton. Started from pole yesterday as well in the second race. So it's been a lot of fun.
Qualifying done on this final event, so how did that go?
A little slower than yesterday. My quickest lap I got blocked a little bit, and we've just realised that there's a slight delamination on one of the tyres, which definitely wouldn't have helped. So I think it's put me somewhere in 8th or 9th. So a little bit of work to do, hopefully to get up to 5th or 6th for the reverse grid in the second race.
Still pushing in the top 10 though, so I mean that's a good position in this size grid.
It's fantastic, and the margins here this weekend are minuscule. You know, I think 4/10 separates something like 9 drivers, so it's an interesting track to race on, and it feels like a lot of effort because you get a lot of laps in.
Simon, we managed to catch up with you at Croft, which is great to see, but now final event of the season in front of a massive crowd, and qualifying went okay.
Yeah, not bad. I had a bit of trouble with my ABS. That failed about halfway through, which means that you've got to brake a bit earlier into the corners, but I got used to that. And yeah, reasonable finish, P8. And actually P7 because of the penalty that someone else incurred yesterday.
And championship points-wise, looking at the sort of big picture, you're sort of 5th or 6th in the championship there?
It's very, very close. So, yes, I think I came into this weekend 6th, but the 7th and 8th are only a couple of points behind. So it's going to be a finish 5th, 6th or 7th for me, I would hope, this weekend, barring any disaster.
And that's pretty respectable, isn't it? Is that been your aim?
Yeah, certainly. And I had a whole weekend's points missing as well. So I missed the round at Cadwell Park. So if I come in 5th, 6th or 7th with a whole missing weekend of points, I'll be very pleased indeed.
After qualifying, Simon Watt 7th in the standings, trying to close in on Callum Eason's total. and also at the same time trying to fend off Claire Avis. Sean Reynolds has moved up to 5th after qualifying. Pole position though to Simon Rudd from Sean Reynolds, Stephen Wells and Jonathan Baker on row 2. Then it's Ryan McGill and Richard Avis, Simon Watts and Ian Mitchell on row 4, Spencer Fortag and Claire Avis on the 5th row, Greg Saunders, Simon Walton, followed by Rob Gaffney, Simon Waugh, Abby Walton and Liam McGill at the back of the grid. Now you'd be forgiven for thinking this was a reverse grid race with Liam McGill at the back of the grid, but a penalty from qualifying sees him off the back. I'm sure he will make progress from there, and it's going to be exciting to watch. Here we go in car with Liam, and Liam lining up alongside Abby Walton. Abby looking to continue her charge to try and get up into the top 10, as she's done on a couple of occasions so far this year. But it's the defending champion Simon Rudd who set the pole position time and gets away well. Good start from him, also from Sean Reynolds. And in second place, I think the quickest starter there was maybe Richard Avis from the 3rd row, who makes a bit of progress. And they are into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. This the view from Simon Watts. Qualifying, of course, carries points as well in Focus Cup. So Callum Eason has now dropped to 6th in the championship from the table we gave you at the beginning of the programme. Callum not here after his shunt at Croft. Rob Gaffney back with us for day 2 in that new car, which is effectively, I guess, a shakedown for the new car. And Rob will be looking to try and work his way through the field in this one and develop the car. And the thing you have to say about MSVR Ford Power Live, massive crowd, and people not necessarily here who have thought about racing. They're going to enjoy watching it and seeing this field making a super sight as they go through Surtees and McLaren. Oh, and around goes Simon Watts. Great recovery from the Simon Watts. Durenta car really got going back well, but you can see as he rejoined, it means a gap to the pack behind who are queuing up now to try and go past. Spencer Fortag in the number 4 on the outside. Liam McGill coming through. We'll go to the inside. Another big sideways moment. That's Ryan McGill in the Amazon car. Loses out big time there. So the faster brother, are we allowed to say that, has gone through. And Ryan, of course, who's learning his trade here, still with the novice cross on the back of the car, finds himself behind his brother, quite a way behind actually, so he's going to have to do a fair bit to try and close in. Simon Watts busy chasing Liam McGill, the champion. Now I'll go back to the crowd, massive crowd here this weekend. And the point I was making is that a lot of them won't have even considered racing, but the introduction they'll get to Focus Cup. Every time I say that, we get a car going sideways, and again it's Simon Watts. Yeah, I don't like seeing cars going off. I think spin, and it was gently, I think, into the barriers. Simon, apologies if that was worse than I made it sound, but Simon Watts, that's a shame, because Simon Watts, 7th in the championship. Claire Avis now has the opportunity to overhaul Simon in the championship points in this race. Simon Waugh having a look down the inside of Spencer Fortag, a little bit of contact between the two, but Simon backed out of that. Fair play, Simon, for that. And up the inside now goes Ryan McGill in the 63, trying to recover. Down behind them is Greg Saunders in the 34. He takes a very wide line indeed, right the way around the outside. So McGill are on the outside in the 63 car. It's all action, isn't it, in the midfield here. At the back of that group is Simon Walton in the number 9. Simon's done quite a few of the rounds this year, as is the norm. Likes to keep an eye on the product as it was on track, and who can blame him for that? Race winner, of course, Croft a while ago. And here's the view from Greg Saunders. So Spencer Fortag is out front. Good to have Spencer back for this last double header of the season, having missed him since Silverstone's second round. Simon Watts mentioned that he missed Cadwell Park, and he has done well on the points. He's done exceptionally well. We've got a mixture of drivers that try and do all the rounds, and then some drivers that dip in and out, and that's fine. That's exactly what this championship is about. The regular core of drivers, of course, give us an exciting championship to watch, and then the occasional drivers, if we can call them that, come in and mix it up and add to the excitement every round that they do arrive. Here's Jonathan Baker, championship regular, had probably a few more retirements than he would have liked so far this year. And Jonathan Baker, though, despite the retirements, 4th in the standings. Richard Avis up ahead of him, about 70 points clear. I think 3rd position is safe now in the championship for Richard Avis. So Richard starting in this one down in 6th place. It's been a good year for the championship. Thankfully, COVID restriction free this season, kicking off at Donington Park as we did on the 2nd of April. Here's Ian Mitchell, nice to have him on board as well. Ian qualifying down in 8th place in the 81 car. 44 car there, that is Steve Wells, of course the driver coach that we spoke about in our last programme, former Ginetta driver, and good to have him in this championship. He's settling in now, because it's one thing to get used to the car, another one to get used to the racing as well. And Stephen doesn't race these cars, and it is a different dynamic racing the car to being a coach. Jonathan Baker in the 10, and a shade further back, Liam McGill working his way through the field here at Brands Hatch and making progress up from 16th on the grid. And Liam, we know, is a great overtaker. You never have to doubt that about a champion in Focus Cup racing because of the partially reversed grids that we have. And Jonathan Baker busy looking at him in the number 10 car at the moment, closing up on Richard Avis in the 71 now, so he's caught the 4th position man, and we go on board with Greg Saunders, climbing uphill into Druids on the inside. This is going to be a pass, isn't it? And goes through on the inside of Simon Watts. Good to see Simon back on track in this one after his problems earlier on in the race. Simon is a couple of laps adrift after his issues, but is significantly running here and will get points for finishing. So Simon Watts has done exactly the right thing. Get back on track and get enough laps under your belt to be a classified finisher. Pit lane at the moment is empty, I think, apart from Rob Gaffney's car. Rob bringing that in, the new car. And through goes McGill. Nice pass on Richard Avis. Liam McGill goes through. Great big nice wide line there up towards Druids we go again. There is McGill in the 62 car. Now we've got Jonathan Baker closing in on Richard Avis. Liquimolly chasing Powerflex down the hill into Graham Hill Bend. There's Sean Reynolds in the 777 car. Sean making great progress after qualifying. Actually got up from, I think, 8th position into 5th in the championship, and more progress to come. Here's Jonathan Baker looking at Richard Avis. Ahead of this group, Sean Reynolds. Oh, and a sideways moment for Ryan McGill in the Amazon Prime car. I tell you what, everybody's done well so far to avoid him. I think that's pretty everyone in near proximity gone past, and Ryan McGill will rejoin. Wow, bit of a moment, bit of a learning experience. So there's Sean Reynolds, 44 is Steve Wells, and Liam McGill closing in on those guys now from the very back of the field, the champion. He could have just parked up and not bothered to do any more races, but instead of that, he's supported the championship. He's come back and he's brought his brother into the mix as well. So here we go, on board with Liam McGill, the Scot busy chasing the driver coach, Steve Wells out front. Great performance from Sean Reynolds in qualifying, got him up to 5th in the standings. He's running in 2nd place at the moment. The GRD lifts and engineering car of Simon Rudd, there he is, blue and white with a little bit of black thrown in for good measure. He's the race leader from pole position. Fastest lap though at the moment is with Liam McGill, and he's about to put a move on the outside of Stephen Wells. Look at that, Wells twitching a little bit as he tries to hold his line. He knows McGill's on the outside. That's great driving from the pair of them. Really good, clean stuff. And Reynolds is the next target now for McGill, the champion, who's closing in on the man in 5th position in the championship. Reynolds' aim here is going to be to, I think, just hold on to that 5th position in the championship ahead of Simon Watts and Claire Avis. They've got their own battle going on, and Claire will outscore Simon Watts significantly here. She's in 8th place in this one at the moment, which is 17 points, and Simon Watts 15th, which is 10, so 7 points the difference between the pair of them. That might see a place change. We'll have to come back and sort that out a little bit later on. There is Ian Mitchell in the 81 car that Barry spoke to at the start of the race. This day 2 here of Brands Hatch, in front of this massive MSVR Ford Power Live crowd. Great meeting. It's not just about the racing, there's plenty of things for people to do, and it's a nice mix on these race days that you don't necessarily want to be watching the track all day, you can have the opportunity to go away and look at fast cars. Talking about fast cars now, Liam McGill is all over the back of Sean Reynolds, who makes a little mistake going into Druids, leaves the gap open here, but it could be the wrong side as they go through Graham Hill Bend, and McGill's going to be forced to go around the outside at Graham Hill. The left-hander, Reynolds read that well. To be fair, McGill did too. These two both good racers in the Focus Cup Championship. Stephen Wells back in fourth. Wells coming under pressure from Richard Davis in the 77. There is the Mintex car, and McGill, you can see, working on his racing lines here, building the momentum. Through clearways they go. Might have good momentum with the speed that he's carried through McLaren corner and clearways. Is he going to be able to, what's he going to do here? You can see Reynolds holding the inside, then goes to the outside. That will leave the door open for McGill to have a look, unless Reynolds comes back in. Reynolds has been very much aware of where he is. Reynolds rightly there, I think, felt that he had the line into the corner to grab it. He's still running wide, but now here comes McGill, who's going to be a little bit better under braking and gets the position. It's second place from the back of the grid for Liam McGill. Sean Reynolds trying to get him back. And Sean will now learn from Liam McGill, who's raced extensively up at Knockhill in Scotland in their domestic championships, and now getting a taste of national racing with the Focus Cup Championship. I tell you what, the Scottish Championship, it was a privilege to commentate on most of their domestic races for many seasons, and they have some very quick drivers, and Liam McGill is the proof of that. And when they spread their wings and maybe spend a little bit more money to come national racing, they always prove themselves. We really have got some good Scottish drivers to match the best from the rest of the country in this national championship. Avis looking at Wells here, so Richard Avis and Stephen Wells again giving room. I like the style of Stephen Wells racing. This is a one-off meeting for him. I think his first race meeting in these cars. Stand to be corrected on that. I need to look at my records as Jonathan Baker is on the inside line of Ian Mitchell. Great dice between those two, and you can see that 95% or more of the time the drivers are giving each other room. If there's somebody on the outside, they're not being squeezed onto the grass. This is what this racing is about. Jonathan Baker still chasing Rich Davis for into the closing stages of this race now, with Simon Rudd still out front. Liam McGill's second and fastest lap. Sean Reynolds still in third place. Rich Davis having a look here at Stephen Wells. Still lots of groups of cars involved in battles here on the Indy circuit at Brands Hatch, and enjoying the penultimate race of the season. Across the line they all go again. Superb view there, overlooking pretty much the whole of the circuit. Simon Rudd goes through. You haven't seen much of Rudd, he's been that far ahead, and it's always a mark of a successful race, isn't it, on TV. If we don't see you in the lead because you're that far ahead, it means you've done very well. Not so great for the sponsors necessarily, but Simon Rudd is away and looking to wrap up with a win here on his last meeting as the number one. Stephen Wells still in the mix here and fending off Richard Avis for the moment. Avis has got a good run though. This is a long Cooper straight, tees up the inside again. Wells has seen him, fair racing. Avis, nice move in the Powerflex car down the inside. It's bringing Jonathan Baker into the mix as well in the number 10. Baker's got his own mirrors full as well of Ian Mitchell. A bit further back, Simon Watts side by side with Ryan McGill, but remember Watts after his excursion is I think a lap down, but did get himself back on track. But again, he's got himself into a position where he could race and have a little bit of a dice with Ryan McGill. He won't hold McGill up because he knows that McGill is on the lead lap, but he still has a little bit of a race with him, and McGill goes through on the inside. He was very quick yesterday. Was McGill and Mitchell again having a go at Jonathan Baker here, can't quite go through. Baker holds on to 6th position, some very handy points to go with that as well. On Cooper Straight we go. This group still headed by Richard Avis after that neat move on Stephen Wells. Sean Reynolds still ahead of them, completing the podium at the moment. Liam McGill ahead of him, and Simon Rudd still the race leader. 15-minute race, and it'll probably go to near enough 16 minutes with the lap times, or 16 laps I should say, not 16 minutes, well nearly 16 minutes anyway, as they cross the line once again here at Brands Hatch. And McGill still working hard to try and close down. We are on board, however, with Ian Mitchell. So Mitchell in 7th place. There goes Sean Reynolds through. He's in 3rd. Richard Davis 4th. 5th position, Stephen Wells. Then it's Jonathan Baker and Ian Mitchell. Points-wise, Claire Avis and Simon Watts are the drivers we need to think about. Avis and Watts coming into this one, 3.67, 3.72. I think Claire Avis may overtake Simon Watts on the points, and I'll report on that to you in race 2, which is our partial reverse grid race, remember. But as I said, in the closing stages of this one now, up to clearways for the last time, or the penultimate time, as the number 1 car goes across the line. Simon Rudd's still there. Liam McGill's trying to close down. I don't think he's going to do that in a lap, but the gap has certainly reduced over the course of the race. Simon Rudd has managed his race very well out front. Best lap time for Simon of 58.7. McGill 58.4, having to chase through the traffic. In car with Ian Mitchell once again, and Simon Rudd here looking for 4th win of the year. Many other championships, that would be enough to start up the championship. I can think of other championships that have already been wrapped up this year where national champions have done so with 4 wins, but Simon Rudd didn't reckon on the competition Liam McGill's had. Simon, of course, had a meeting out as well, and there is the GRD Lifts and Engineering car coming around clearways for the final time to bag another win in the championship for the reigning champion. It's the reigning champion heading the new champion here at Brands Hatch. Simon Rudd takes the win from pole position. 2nd place and fastest lap, Liam McGill. Sean Reynolds will come home in 3rd. Here is Sean. Do we get any reaction? We don't in car. Nice and calm 3rd position. Podium for Sean Reynolds again. Repeating what he did at Croft. Richard Davis next from Stephen Wells, then Jonathan Baker, Ian Mitchell, Claire Avis, Simon Watt and Spencer Fortag. We ride on board with Greg Saunders, who's in 12th place, chasing Ryan McGill. They go across the line now. And a good race to get our 2nd day here at Brands Hatch underway. The meeting sponsored by Mintex today, as you can see on the screens of the cars. Into pit lane comes our race winner, number 1, Simon Rudd. McGill 2nd. From Sean Reynolds and Richard Davis, Stephen Wells, Jonathan Baker 6th from Ian Mitchell, Claire Avis 7th, 8th, beg your pardon, Simon Ward 9th from Spencer Fortag, Ryan McGill, Greg Saunders, Abby Walton, Simon Walton and Simon Watts.
Simon, lights to flag victory. You made that look very easy.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I needed to get a good start from pole and build out a bit of a gap so that we could then manage it towards the end, which we managed to do. So yeah, really happy. What a great way to start the last round.
Pretty faultless drive though. I mean, all right, the others were getting close in your mirrors, but you kept that pace.
Yeah, I just sort of set myself a delta, and on the lap time I just wanted to be within 1/10 of a second of that every lap, and I was. So I knew that if I could keep that pace up, then it would be difficult to catch me.
Well, that was an interesting race. I wasn't aware that you're going to start at the back of the grid. You've done some impressive drives this season, but that has probably got to be, for me, one of the most impressive ones, making your way through the pack in short circuit in a pretty short race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't think I would end up in 2nd. And starting to close in the leader, I think Simon was getting a little worried there at the end. There was a couple of slides, bless him. But no, we finished 2nd, so we'll see what happens in the next one. The fire's still lit in the belly, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, that went pretty well. I mean, we only had a chat earlier on, and the confidence was sort of there, but that played out pretty well.
Yeah, it was really good, really. So I got a good start, tucked in behind Simon, and then just tried to settle down into a rhythm and tried to keep a gap behind me. Slowly built a gap up from, I think, Steve Wells. So just settled down a bit, and then I could just see Liam looming in my mirrors lap by lap. I think he got me with about 3 or 4 laps to go. But no, it was a reasonably comfortable race from my point of view. Just settled out, and there was no real dramas.
Well, we meet again. We met last round, and another bit of silverware and a good 8th place on that race.
Yes, very pleased. Nice and clean again, and stayed out of trouble in the beginning there. And yeah, I think I had Simon Wall was up behind me, quite closing in, but managed to hold him off. So yeah, all good.
Claire wins the AM class and joins Simon Rudd, Liam McGill and Sean Reynolds on the podium for race 1. More for you after the break. This programme was recorded on the 18th and 19th of September, just before the funeral of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Like other sporting events around the country, Brands Hatch fell silent to pay its respects. Ahead of our last race of the season, a chance to look round the paddock, and amazing how the cars still look absolutely immaculate for the Focus Cup Championship here at Brands Hatch. Now, between races 1 and 2, we often take the opportunity to talk to some of the people behind the scenes. Our meeting sponsors are Mintex, because it's a great chance to catch up with Richard Barton from the company.
Richard, we'll meet again. Ford Power Live event, final event of the season for the Focus Cup.
Yeah.
Mintex title sponsor, so thanks very much for that. And a very busy show for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Ford Power Live show. I'm a Ford fan, so it's always a nice opportunity for me to see some really nice cars and, you know, engage with the owners and you know, have a bit of a talk about our products as well. So yeah, always a great day, to be honest. Yeah.
And your association with the Focus Cup, you've been in for quite a few years now, and it's much appreciated, not only from the sponsorship side of things, but also the parts. I mean, there's no better way of proving these parts than on the racetrack.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Focus Cup is a great championship to be involved with. I mean, we're involved in quite a lot of championships through our sort of racing brand, Mintex Racing, and the Focuses, they're all fitted with the same pad, the same compounds. They run 1166 compound on the front, 1144 on the rear. Works very well for the drivers. They never have any complaints, and you know, yeah, it's a great opportunity to do some testing with them, with other compounds, and get some feedback on, you know, where we need to go, and you know, it's I guess continuous improvement, you know, and that's what we like to do with them.
I was going to say, so it's ongoing, constant development. You don't just stand still. It's moving with the times. Performance of cars varies. Types of cars with fuel types and so forth varies. So you've got to keep ahead of that, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, today in racing, for example, you know, cars are much faster now. They're much heavier. Drivers are more aggressive. Tyre compounds have come on. You know, so it's you've got to keep up with that. So you just got to continue to develop. You know, to be at the front. And every driver in a race car is looking for an edge. You know, so it's great to be able to maybe provide that for them.
Now, most of our viewers, we know it's an internationally recognised brand, Mintex, since 1908, I think, isn't it? And but for any new ones out there, I mean, just tell us briefly what your range consists of and what you do.
Well, we've got a huge range. Well, obviously we've got our road car brand, which is just Mintex. Over 3,000 part numbers there, and similarly within the racing, we can produce or we can replicate that range. And also outside of that, we have the whole kind of racing caliper market as well, where you've got a number of shapes there that we can produce. And then also we can do bespoke items for classic cars as well, where you have all drum applications. And you know, in the past we've also made liners or brake linings for aeroplanes as well. We recently relined the Battle of Britain Memorial Lancaster, so we've really got a wide range and wide capabilities within the business.
Jonathan Baker lines up on pole position for this one, with Steve Wills next up, then Richard Davis and Sean Reynolds. Liam McGill and Simon Rudd on row 3. Fourth row, Greg Saunders and Ryan McGill. Spencer Fortag and Simon Waugh are next, from Claire Avis and Ian Mitchell. The back of the grid, Simon Watts, Abby Walton. Simon Walton first, then Abby Walton, and then Rob Gaffney after his non-finish. So remember, the groups of 6 are reversed. So first to 6 position in race 1 get reversed, and then 7 to 12 get reversed as well for this. It's a really good format, and it gives us some very exciting racing. Jonathan Baker starting on pole, Steve Wells alongside, Rob Gaffney with the work to do. Is Rob Gaffney going to do a Liam McGill here from the back of the grid? We'll have to wait and see. The final race of the season, very, very sadly here, is underway. It's a good start by Richard Davis, I think, from 3rd place. 3-1 as they go along the main straight down in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Simon Waugh, the meat in the sandwich there, and everybody through safely. I think Rob Gaffney's made up a couple of places already, but still side by side as they come up to Druid. Steve Wells on the outside of Jonathan Baker, and Wells is going to try and do the tear up around the outside. Not quite enough momentum, I don't think, to hold on to it. Again, you can see everybody, even in these early stages where it's closely bunched, giving each other room, and that's great to see. Jonathan Baker the leader, Wells second. Sean Reynolds is already in 3rd after 3rd position in the previous race, starting 4th on the grid in this one, so he's made up a place already, looking to consolidate 5th position in the championship. Claire Avis is now 6, ahead of Simon Watts. Simon Watts has now overtaken Callum Eason in the points after race 1, so Callum obviously not here sadly, but so the battle is now effectively in the points on between Claire Avis and Simon Watts, and Claire is 6th in the championship, 2 points clear of Simon Watts, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that one over the course of the race. And there is Claire looking to the outside of Ian Mitchell, comes into paddock, and Claire winning the AM category for the drivers that haven't had a podium. In touring car terms, it would be the Jack Sears Trophy. Well, that's what drivers who haven't finished on the podium this year have been racing for in touring cars. So that gives you a little bit of perspective. I'm not pretending this is touring cars, it isn't, but the drivers would aspire to get there at some point. Look how much progress Gaffney's made. Rob Gaffney has made in the all-black car. Gaffer's working his way through the field, and indeed, as I said on the grid, doing a Liam McGill. McGill's doing a McGill as well. He's looking on the inside line, and Sean Reynolds there very neatly through on the inside. Saw the gap, went for it, good momentum into the gap and makes the pass. So Sean Reynolds relegated to 4th place. I'm guessing Simon Rudd will be next up. No, Simon's a couple of cars back, isn't he? So we've got Reynolds, then Richard Avis, and then Simon Rudd in the blue and white GRD Lifts and Engineering car. Here comes Stephen Wells though in the Mintex car. And a big thank you to Mintex for their support. Wells looks to the inside, that's covered by Baker. Stephen goes to the outside. Mintex v Liquid Moly, some very strong branding in this championship, as you'll note. Wells has now got Liam McGill all over him. McGill takes a nice wide run out of the exit of Druids, got plenty of momentum going down into Graham Hill Bend, which he might use along Cooper Straight. So try and close up here. Watch track limits there. That's caught a couple of people out, I think, in qualifying today. Richard Davies coming under pressure from Simon Rudd. Powerflex car is the one being chased at the moment. Rudd again using different lines, bags of experience for Simon Rudd, very well known and experienced, respected racing driver, coming through Clark Curve onto the Brabham Straight, trying to get momentum to pass Richard Davis. Meanwhile, with that momentum from earlier in the lap and passing Stephen Wells is Liam McGill from 5th position on the grid up into 2nd. Stephen Wells passed armfuls of lock for well, but look how coolly he controlled that. You can tell he's a race driving instructor, Steve Wells. He just took that in his stride. That was a lovely onboard shot. Lost 2nd position, but still enjoying his race. Ryan McGill a little bit further back. Rob Gaffney about to pop a move on the Amazon Prime car. There is Gaffers in his traditional 46. Remember watching Rob Gaffney for the first time in Ginetta Junior when they were racing the G20s, which was the earlier spec Ginetta car. I think that was before they came onto the touring car programme. I can't remember if Rob did actually race on the touring car programme with the G20 or not, but now runs his own team, races in other things, but despite that still quite happy to come here and race other people's cars, and you know that's great. That's a mark of Rob. Always a pleasure to be around him and his family in the paddock. Here's Liam McGill dicing for the race lead now, so it's Jonathan Baker there at the moment. McGill, super momentum through Paddock Hill Bend, looks up the inside, is there space? He's going to put a couple of wheels on the grass, there isn't. Baker defending well, McGill goes to the outside, the AST car still putting on pressure. Stephen Wells not that far behind, neither is treble 7 Sean Reynolds. McGill is all over the back of the number 10 car, he's looking every way possible to try and get past, and the urgency is because Steve Wells is there in the mix as well in the red Mintex car, and here's the proof of that. Wells along the straight in 3rd. Richard Davis has been cleared now by Simon Rudd, coming up into clearways again. And McGill, he's got momentum, looks on the inside. Baker's got that covered there, and McGill again loses just a shade as Baker grabs the line that he wants to. That's all good, clean, fair stuff. And Baker again hugging the white line up towards the pit wall to defend the line into Paddock Hill Bend, and McGill will have a look here on the outside, might go for the cutback and may have momentum to come through on the inside because the 10 car drifts wide, 62 car drifts a little bit wider as well, forced to the outside as they go under the Burton Bridge here. Into Druids again. McGill is being given a real workout here. This is probably the hardest pass he's had to effect so far this weekend. And Jonathan Baker doing well, but now there's a gap and McGill throws the car down the inside, grabs the lead. Super work by Baker up to that point. And I think it was inevitable that McGill was going to find a way past. And now here comes Steve Wells looking in the mix as well. And also Sean Reynolds, they're 3 wide as they go into Surtees. And that was only ever going to end one way, and it's Jonathan Baker, the long-time leader, sadly, who gets the spin out of the 3 cars Again, there was barely contact between the three cars, but what little there was caused the problems we saw. Shame for Jonathan Baker, who led so well in the early stages. Simon Rudd coming under pressure now again from Richard Avis. We've got Ryan McGill closing up as well on Simon Rudd. Simon not quite looking as sharp, maybe the car not performing to his liking. Remember, he did have pole and led from start to finish in race number 1. So Ryan McGill on the move through the field, all over the back of Simon Rudd, rightly defending, down into Graham Hill Bend. And Rob Gaffney's caught this group as well. So Rob Gaffney from the back. Simon Rudd runs a little bit wide there. Need to be careful about not repeating that one because of track limits warnings. The little sensors in the runoff area there which take photographs of the car. Sean Reynolds spins around. Sean Reynolds. Now that's going to maybe affect his championship points. Reynolds is on 399. Might have enough points to keep 5th position in the championship. Here's a replay. Grabs the curb. Don't think there was a tap for anyone behind. Maybe the curb unsettled the car. He spins it around, hopefully gets it going. Now Steve Wells has to take avoiding. Look at this, Steve Wells, the worry for him was that Reynolds' car was going to come right across the track back in front of him. Thankfully it didn't, we don't get the damage. Spencer Fortag on the inside having a look at Greg Saunders. Under pressure from Ian Mitchell, who ride on board with now. And Fortag just slotted back in. Claire Avis is in behind as well. It's all happening here, isn't it, in the first half of our final race of the 2022 season. Ian Mitchell still busy challenging Spencer Fortag, so great racing wherever you look actually in the mix up front, although Liam McGill will probably be starting to get away and down the road. Here is Simon Watts chasing Claire, and this could not be closer. 2 points between them in the championship coming into this race, and they are dicing nose to tail as we head into the last few laps. In car with Ryan McGill having a look at Simon Rudd, who in turn is chasing Steve Wells down the hill into Graham Hill Bend, the left-hander. Let's see what Simon Rudd can do. He'll be looking to try and build up momentum here, maybe make a move. Thought he wasn't going to, but now he is. Looks to the inside of Steve Wells, side by side into Surtees. Both drivers giving each other room. Move complete. Ryan McGill looking to try and come through as well. Steve Wells, though, thinks he's got the line. He has got the line as well as they go through. Clearways maintains that position, 3rd position, so potential podium here for Stephen Wells. Simon Rudd up to P2 with a big task here to try and close in on Liam McGill, who's out front. McGill started 5th, Rudd starting 6th on the grid for this one. Across the line they go again into Paddock Hill Bend. 2nd, 3rd and 4th. 5th position is Richard Avis in the 77 car. There is Liam McGill through shot. Plenty of dicing going on right the way down the order at the moment, and we'll catch up with Spencer Fortag closing in on Claire Avis. Claire comes across, half a car width there, but Spencer Fortag decides he can't go through on the inside. Claire Avis maintains position at the moment. A couple of cars back is Simon Watts, who needs to try and get points off Claire. He comes across, and there's contact with Spencer Fortag's car, and not what we wanted to see as well. Claire Avis heavily into the barrier. Now, I gather we're getting the thumbs up from the marshals that Claire is okay. It's going to be a shock for her, if nothing else. Stephen Wells is a shock for us as well. Stephen Wells retires. Claire Avis in the car. Red flag, because that is going to take a while to recover for sure. Here's a replay. Claire comes out of Druids across the track slightly. Spencer Fortag makes contact. Claire Avis, passenger into the barrier. It's a really hard hit. Claire is going to be shocked, maybe a little bit winded from that. She will go to the medical centre. Things being cleared up and tidied up, but Claire out of the car, which is good news. And good news for husband Richard Avis, who goes past, and he'll be pleased to see that Claire is okay, and he'll focus on his race, of course. Ready for the restart. So Liam McGill now has Simon Rudd right in his mirrors. Off the start, away we go. All away cleanly. Rob Gaffney drops down to the inside just to annex his place up ahead of Ian Mitchell in the ABS car. Simon Rudd goes to the outside, tries to get a run. Ryan McGill goes around the outside of Richard Avis. This is for 3rd place, so the Amazon Prime car up into 3rd position. Rob Gaffney, meanwhile, is up into fourth. Gaffney got a very good start. Richard Davis has dropped back a little bit there, so not the best start for Richard Davis. He's understandably going to be a little bit perturbed about what's just happened to his wife, but I'm sure he'll collect his thoughts and get racing again and be going for a podium, and going for the top step of the podium is Simon Rudd, but on the outside as they come into Surtees, side by side. Oh, and Rudd, if he could have held on to the tarmac, he now goes on the grass. Ryan McGill has to take a little bit of avoiding action. Armfuls of luck. Rudd back on in second place. Ryan McGill has a little bit of a kiss and a cuddle with Rob Gaffney there as they come out of Clark Curve onto the Brabham Straight. Gaffney in fourth place, challenging for third. So Gaffney from the back. I said he was going to do a Liam McGill. Actually, we've got Rich Davis coming back in the mix as well there. Rob Gaffney isn't doing a Liam McGill, he's doing a Rob Gaffney, to be absolutely fair. Through into third, Rich Davis trying to get back on terms with Liam McGill. So Liam in the prime car still there as well. Ian Mitchell coming up to play two. Then I think it's Simon Watts who has a wide moment there, and Sean Reynolds is going to go through. Sean Reynolds behind this group. You can see just challenging Simon Watts. McGill gets a big Mr. Whippy off, goes one way then the other. That should scrub off speed. It might allow Richard Davis to go back into fourth. He's got the inside line as they go into Surtees. In the right-hander at McLaren, and McGill hanging on the outside, but will lose a little bit of control as he goes on the grass. Another bouncy moment for the 63 car, which is starting to look a little bit second-hand. McGill, though, for a newcomer, doing well. Richard Davis under pressure here, but this is good stuff from Richard Davis. After what he's just seen, Claire Avis's incident's going to be playing on his mind, but he's got back in, he's racing well. McGill gets armfuls of lock at Paddock Hill Bend. Yeah, that's a scary moment, isn't it? But collects it all up, continues on his way. The brother of the new champion in his second meeting of Focus Cup racing. Ian Mitchell through on the inside. Sean Reynolds is next up from Simon Watts. Watts here 2 points down on Claire Avis, as we mentioned, coming into this race in the championship and vying for sixth place in the standings. Here's Sean Reynolds. Sean, of course, has jumped up to fifth this meeting. He'll be pleased with his work so far. Should be safe in that. Mitchell through. Reynolds having a look on the inside of Ryan McGill, who chops down the inside as well. Simon Watts trying to come through as well. The 23 car. Contact between the two. A rare piece of contact in this racing, one has to say. I think we're going to get a look at that again. We're in car with Sean Reynolds. Watts just goes through, clatters as a result of that. The car goes one way, then the other. He collects it up very well indeed. Meanwhile, Jonathan Baker coming back in. You just saw the Liquid Molly logo coming back into play in the number 10, and the man who started on pole position is there now with Simon Watts in the Dorenza car, black and red car of Simon Watts. Just needs to finish to get ahead of Claire Avis in the points in this one. Simon was out of luck in the first race, obviously having that off, but coming back on and getting a points finish nonetheless, a lowly points finish. So Claire outscored him in the first race. As we watch Reynolds going past Simon Watts now. So there is Sean Reynolds in the treble 7. Great performance in qualifying, a nice podium for him in race number 1 of the day, behind Liam McGill and Simon Rudd, who took the win. Rudd showing good pace in this one, but still can't quite close down on the race leader as we watch the mid-pack runners still very much involved. Across the line they go again. And it's Liam McGill still there from Simon Rudd. Rob Gaffney in third. It's all about fourth position here. There is Richard Davis. Ian Mitchell is in fifth place. Ryan McGill is next up. So here's Ryan trying to put the pressure on Ian Mitchell. Richard Davis up ahead in the Powerflex car, looking fairly comfortable at the moment in fourth position. The 77 car had a podium at Alton Park, remember. Rob Gaffney coming through as well. Still Liam McGill out front. Last couple of corners here at Brands Hatch, and Ian Mitchell's got a problem as they come down towards the checkered flag. It's a win for McGill. Simon Rudd second. Rob Gaffney's delighted with third. Rob Gaffney gets a podium. He was thrilled with that. Richard Davis fourth. Ryan McGill in fifth place from Jonathan Baker and Sean Reynolds. Simon Watts is in eighth and will annex that seventh position in the championship. But it's another win for Liam McGill. Simon Rudd got the fastest lap on the final lap of that second start. So what a competitive meeting we've had. Almost sums up the championship between Rudd and McGill. Here's the result. McGill from Rudd, Gaffney in third place, Richard Davies next up from Ryan McGill, Jonathan Baker, Sean Reynolds, Simon Watts, Spencer Fortag 9th and Simon Ward 10th ahead of Greg Saunders, Simon Walton and Abby Walton in 13th.
Confirmed 2022 champion, Liam McGill. What a cracking season and a great way to end the weekend.
Yeah, I kind of was desperate for that win at the end there just to round off the season, but it's been an excellent season. Focus Cup has been amazing. Everybody's been very, very welcoming here, so I would definitely recommend it to anyone to give it a shot.
A few unfortunate events all happening behind you as it happened in that particular one. Thankfully we got a restart. That would have been a frustrating finish otherwise, and yeah, it was a busy one, but you kept that distance.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, Simon was giving me a good go there at the end. It's annoying when you see the red flag, and you know, if you've got a bit of a gap and then you see the red flag, you know it's going to be bunched up again. But you know, it can work in your favour as well. You know, if you're sitting in second place far back and the red flag comes out, so it kind of swings and roundabouts. So, but just when the red flag come out, you know, you've just got to kind of try and keep your cool.
Got to say also that your brother Ryan, I'm going to give him a quick mention because he's a newcomer to the championship. He's made his mark this weekend.
He definitely has, yeah. He's had some great results, and it would be good to see if maybe he come down and replaced me next year, and I come down and gave him a hand. That would be interesting for sure.
What a way to end the season. Blimey. I mean, great podium finish for you. I mean, you've been consistent throughout the season and well deserved. But that was a busy one, and then obviously red flag, safety car and so forth. And it all got really hotted up, didn't it, after that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with second. I think with the reverse grid, obviously starting sixth. Got caught up at the start, I think, because the person next to me got a jump start, so held me up for a few laps, and then a few people started hitting each other and almost got caught up in that as well. So managed to come out in second, and then obviously the red flag brought me back into contention, and you know, 5 minutes I gave it the best I could, but you know, ultimately it wasn't enough.
So great season. What's next?
To be decided. You know, I think I've had a good weekend. You know, we've had the win today off of the first race. You know, I've got my sponsors here, and you know, hopefully that they're happy with what's gone on, and yeah, we've got things in the pipeline, discussions going on, so we'll have to wait and see.
I think one of my images from that last race is seeing you come over the finish line, punching the air with success there in third place.
Yeah, obviously this weekend's been a challenging weekend, I think is the best thing to say. Obviously it's been a new build car, you know, we finished building it kind of here on Thursday, and yeah, obviously we've had some teething problems. Race one, unfortunately, got damage and put a hole in the radiator, so yeah, it was nice to come obviously from the back and show the pace that we did have all weekend.
You're one of these people that can't actually relax, so apart from the racing, you're on the spanners in between, so you've had a pretty busy day. Yeah,
it's been busy. Obviously, I've got some of the guys obviously that help out here at the Focus Cup as mechanics. I'm one of them. So yeah, unfortunately I've got to get my hands dirty and oiling and get on the tools with it as well.
Great way to end the day, and winner there, and a nice bit of silverware. It's been a bit of an up and down day for you, but we've ended well.
It has indeed, yeah. I had a bit of a misfortune early in race one, bit of coming together on Surtees that put me into the barrier. Managed to hobble back to the pits with a puncture. Had the front wheel changed and then got going again, got back up to full speed, got back into the pack, but of course 2 laps behind, so I was bound to finish at the back apart from the DNF. So therefore a start from the back of the grid here, and then fought my way forward, and I think I finished in 8th, and that put me into the top AM place, so very happy with that, a good outcome for the day. And I've done a quick calculation on points, and I think I should have finished 6th in the championship, so I hope I'm right on that one.
Simon was absolutely correct. The champion, of course, Liam McGill from Simon Rudd. Third position, Richard Davies, and 4th place, Jonathan Baker, ahead of 5th place man, Sean Reynolds. A great year. Congratulations to our champion, Liam McGill, and all of our drivers for putting on a great show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.